away, and we'll be locked in the whole way through. Here are the first-round matchups: Liberty versus the Dream, Lynx versus the Mercury, Sun Fever in the 4-5 matchup, the Aces versus the Storm. But how about the Fever? First time they've tasted the playoffs since 2016, but don't think for a second they're just content to be in the postseason.
For me, this isn't like a party. Like, yeah, it's great. I feel like it's a great accomplishment, but like there's so much more left to be done. Like, yeah, we made the playoffs. There's 6 regular season games. I mean, I'm not just happy to be in the playoffs. I think we have the type of team that can win and advance going one game at a time.
They're obviously a really good team, and I think I remember sitting up here, you know, after game 1 or game 3, we played them, and I'm like, they're going to be just fine, right? Like, they just have to grow. They're young, and then they've got to figure it out, and they've got to learn to play together, and they have.
Did they grow? Indeed. Now time to bring in CBS Sports WNBA analyst Tarika Foster-Brasby. And Tarika, this Fever team has been the second hottest team in the W behind the Lynx since the Olympic break. So I'm compelled to ask you, how dangerous is this Indiana team, especially with the way their dynamic backcourt is playing in Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell?
Yeah, they're a very dangerous team coming into this postseason. You know, they always tell you that the team that you want to watch out for are the teams that get hot at the right time. And this Indiana Fever team has most certainly gotten hot at the right time. They figured out how to gel with each other, the chemistry that they've built, the backcourt between Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, who Mitchell is really coming in to this season, to this postseason, playing some of the best basketball of her career. When you look at the last matchup between the Connecticut Sun and Indiana, Connecticut was not able to contain Kelsey Mitchell, nor were they able to outscore. It was a close matchup, and I know that it will be a close matchup, but that's going to be the biggest thing. Can Connecticut score effectively and efficiently enough to put them above Caitlin Clark and the rest of the Fever? They've had success doing so 3 times this year, but keep in mind, those 3 times that they met were before the Olympic break. And so both of these teams look very different from then up until now. I think that this is probably going to be the most interesting matchup in the postseason, if you ask me, just because this Indiana team is young, it's inexperienced, and it's on the road, but they're playing really well right now, and their fans travel incredibly well. So I don't know how much of a home game it's going to feel like for Connecticut when all those Indiana fans tune in to Mohegan Sun, but it certainly should be a compelling ride to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be an entertaining series, to say the least. Now, when you look at Sunday's matchup, do you expect the Fever struggles to continue, right, with those 3 losses earlier in the year? Or do you think Caitlin, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hull, they're able to steal one on the road in game 1?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Chris, and that's because this team has figured out exactly how to defend better. That was one of the issues that this Indiana team kind of struggled with early on. But one thing Chrissy Sides did later in this half was she started to utilize Lexi Hull a bit more, right? And using her as your best perimeter defender really helped this team to kind of hone off on some of the teams that score well from outside. The thing is, this Connecticut Sun team, it prides itself on defense. And so it's going to focus on Caitlin Clark. They are going to focus on Kelsey Mitchell. And Dejanay Carrington has done a phenomenal job with ensuring that Caitlin Clark struggles whenever they're playing against Connecticut. So I have no doubt that this is going to be a low-scoring defensive game because both teams, again, Indiana having figured out how to defend a bit better and Connecticut knowing how to defend, it's what they do. I don't believe that this is going to be a game in which it will be an 80-90 point situation. However, Connecticut must find a way to have consistent scoring, and I believe that they have found that in Marina Mabrey. She was someone who was not a part of their team earlier in the year when they matched up those first 3 times. So the way that they play offense is a little bit different when you add her to the lineup, but that is going to be the key. Can Connecticut continue to find some offensive rhythm? They're going to need that in order to make sure they move on past Indiana.
Well, if Marina Mabrey is lighting up like we've seen right during the second half of the year, then they should be a very quality team to handle in this postseason. Now, when it comes to the odds, right, to win this WNBA title, the Liberty are the favorites, the Aces are in second, and then you have the Lynx and the Sun. And the Aces, they're taking on the Storm in the first round to start their quest for a three-peat. And you know, there's already a little spice, you know, Tiffany Hayes, Skylar Diggins-Smith had a colorful exchange in their last matchup. What are you expecting, Tarika, from the series? A sweep for Vegas, or we go the full 3 games?
Well, it could be a sweep from Vegas, but it won't be an easy one, right? Because, this is a Seattle team that did find a way to get a win over on this Las Vegas team earlier in the year. But again, the way that you saw teams earlier and the way that teams play now, totally different. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to go out on a limb and say just completely wipe out everything that you knew from the WNBA regular season, because when it comes to the playoffs, these teams seem to find a different set of tenacity that they play from. They bring a different set of strength, and they come with a lot more intensity. And I have no doubt that this the Storm team is going to bring a lot of intensity. Nneka Ogwumike has played incredibly well this entire season. She certainly should be on people's all WNBA ballots, and she can carry this team, as well as if Jewel Loyd can find whatever that magic is, that gold mamba magic is that she has on the offensive end. And Skylar Diggins-Smith, even with this being her first year, she has shown up in big moments where they've needed her from a facilitator's perspective. However, no one, and I do mean no one, has had an answer for A'ja Wilson. A'ja Wilson is playing the best basketball that I've ever seen from a basketball player in a single season, and she's not going to make this easy for Seattle. And I believe that Las Vegas is on a mission. They are looking to do something that no team has done since the Houston Comets, and that is make sure that they can win 3 championships in a row. So this will not be an easy win by any stretch of the imagination. Both teams are going to come out to play, but I do think that Las Vegas has just a little bit more of an edge in this matchup and should be able to advance to the semifinals.
Hey, look, I'll be seated right there on my couch watching this game or watching this series, because it is going to be high quality basketball entertainment. Now, when it comes to who's going to win it all, right, that WNBA championship, Tarika, who is your pick to do it?
This is the most unfair question you can ever ask an analyst, and I hate it so much. So I've covered the Connecticut Sun all season long. So in full transparency, I would love to see Connecticut win a championship this year. I just think that they have earned it and have played so well to do it. But I also believe that the New York Liberty is probably the team that is best equipped. The New York Liberty has quite literally played majority of the season. Now, they've had their ups and downs, and despite losing in the last game of the regular season, they have done enough to convince me that they have listened to the noise. They have heard things that were said about them last season, and they're ready to really make a run and make a push and get over the hump. Now, it's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, because the Minnesota Lynx look good, and they have looked good all season long as well. They're playing incredibly well, and they are going to have something to say should they make it to the finals. They're also potentially looking at a matchup in the semifinals against their last season opponent in the finals in the Las Vegas Aces. And I just said, A'ja is a woman on a mission. She's not going to make it easy for New York to try to get past them. So this is tough. This question, Chris, is tough. And no matter what team I pick, I'm going to get eaten alive for it, right? So I might as well go with the Vegas odds favorites, and my heart can just be in someplace completely different.
Hey, I ain't mad at that. I mean, you got to stand on your pick, right? Because either way, somebody's going to be upset. Somebody's going to be upset. For me, I got the Aces over the Lynx in 5 in the WNBA Finals. I'm not counting them out. I could see the Liberty winning it or Minnesota, but when you see the way that A'ja Wilson has played and everybody else rounding in the form, especially Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young getting her legs back, I'm not betting against them. So I got the Aces.
You're so confident. You're so confident, Chris. I don't have it. I do not have the confidence.
It's A'ja. Listen, I'm just saying, we saw the season that A'ja had, so that's why I'm confident in the rounding the form. But you never know. Either way, both of us might be getting eaten alive. That's just part of the gig, right? But that's why we got paid the big bucks. Tarika Foster-Brasby, always a pleasure talking to you, girl.
Thanks, Chris.
And so here's a look. Tarika referenced it. The last time that a team has won 3 straight WNBA championships, the Houston Comets. Back in the late 90s, in the 2000s, of course, they won 4 in a row. The Sparks and the Aces, the other 2 teams to win back-to-back titles in WNBA history.
NBA star mocks Sheryl Swoopes' comments on Caitlin Clark. New Orleans Pelicans guard DeJounte Murray couldn't resist poking fun at the notion that Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark isn't dominating. For anyone questioning whether Clark had an outstanding rookie season in the WNBA, they need only look at the record she shattered. Murray, clearly amused by this debate, had something to say about it. The 2022 NBA All-Star left a comment on a Bleacher Report Instagram post that listed many of the records Clark broke this season. Murray wrote, "She's not dominating," followed by a string of laughing emojis. This was a direct jab at recent remarks made by women's basketball legend Sheryl Swoopes on Gil's Arena. Swoopes had bluntly refused to call Clark's rookie season dominant, marking the latest instance in what seems to be a pattern of downplaying Clark's achievements. However, most of us who have seen Clark in action know how dynamic she is on the court. The record books paint an even clearer picture, with Clark breaking nearly every rookie record imaginable. But her accomplishments didn't stop there. She also set the record for the most assists in a single WNBA season, regardless of position, and scored more points than any point guard before her. Her combined averages of points and assists have never been matched, making Clark responsible for more total points than any other player. That's what real dominance looks like, which is why Murray's playful comment hit the mark. It's becoming increasingly apparent that Swoopes may never give Clark the credit she deserves, leading to some lighthearted mocking along the way. Regardless, Caitlin Clark's dominance is undeniable, and for anyone still in doubt, the record books speak for themselves.